been for 20 years, Newly my lover and fiancé, had stood in our living room, her arms wrapped tightly around 13-year-old Grace and 11-year-old Alex, their faces slack with shock. And she had mouthed to me as the FBI dragged me out the door, as her mask fell and her face turned haggard. "I'm sorry." Special Agent Diaz was right. My defense was beyond ludicrous. The idea that the FBI had plotted against me was crazy enough. The notion of them conspiring with Amara, who had devoted her whole life to fighting government oppression, was somewhere way past insane. But as far as I could tell, that was exactly what had happened. I said, "I want a lawyer." Chapter 2. Reunion. The agents explained I would meet my lawyer before my initial court appearance, perhaps as long as 72 hours after my arrest. Then they left. I expected uniformed men to take me away, but none came. I remained chained to that steel table in that white room for what felt like hours. I began to wonder if I'd been accidentally forgotten, or if this was some kind of psychological warfare in the hope I might yet confess. Maybe it would work. Maybe I would crack. Maybe I had already lost my mind. That notion made substantially more sense than anything else which had happened since dawn. I was a middle-aged, middle-ranking tech executive, mildly interesting but not memorable, comfortably wealthy but not rich. There were thousands like me in the Bay Area. There was no imaginable reason for anyone to conspire against me. When the door opened again, I hurtled straight back into fight or flight, grasped with sudden adrenaline as if a fanged beast might leap for my throat. Instead, a small 40-something woman with purple hair entered, dressed expensively in black, her heels clicking crisply on the tiled floor. I stared at her open-mouthed. She shut the door delicately behind her, sat down across the table, and bestowed on me a triumphantly amused grin, as if this were a friendly game of poker, and she had just claimed all my chips. "Adrian, I wish this were a more pleasant surprise." Vika? I could barely get the name out. What are you doing here?" She pursed her lips as if suppressing a laugh, then took a moment to ostentatiously inspect the dark gloss on her fingernails. "Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing." She was tiny, with high cheekbones and a prominent chin. She'd been an aerialist once. I remembered her grappling with silks high above the DNA Lounge's dance floor, albeit with more grim precision than grace. She still had an acrobat's strong torso. I looked around wildly, as if the walls might fall away to reveal a movie set. "How did you even get in here?" Vika had nothing to do with law enforcement. After we fell out of touch, she had become the executive director of the Ethical AI Foundation and was now frequently quoted by the media, mostly sharply criticizing those AI researchers and companies who didn't support the EAF. She'd been profiled by Wired and dubbed one of the 50 most powerful women in tech by Vanity Fair. There was no imaginable reason for her to be here. We had been friends once, long ago, in our 20s, in the aughts, both members of a sprawling cohort of would-be goth industrial cyberpunks. We had dressed in leather and vinyl bondage gear, sculpted our hair into colored ramparts, and roamed the streets and nightclubs and parties of San Francisco, trying to exude rebel menace. In truth, we had mostly been overcompensating nerds from middle-class backgrounds, taking on the trappings of subversion for a few years, before reverting to capitalist conformity. But Vika still dressed the part. Her black leather jacket would have fit right in at the Trocadero or the DNA Lounge. She hitched up her legs to perch cross-legged on the metal chair. She had always had the mannerisms of a tiny bird of prey. "I seem to have acquired some connections of significance. A2? "I was set up. I don't understand how." "Yes, of course," Vika said airily. "But what I want to know, Adrian, is why. How is it